Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In this video, I will be presenting my final year project, which is the effect of using different types of storage on the physical properties of biodiesel. I am Khairul Rizman under the supervision of Mr. Norani bin Mansur. The introduction is for biodiesel. The storage and handling are important factors that may affect the characteristic of biodiesel as they are exposed to degradation compared to fossil fuels. Biodiesel also sustainable, generates lower emission and environmentally friendly compared to petroleum diesel. However, research showed that biodiesel undergoes degradation faster due to unsuitable storage containers and conditions. The tests that have been done on the biodiesel is guided by the standard of AD160175 and DIN EN 14214 for the standardized of the biodiesel. The problem statement of this project is research showed that biodiesel undergoes degradation due to different storage containers and condition, and a research claimed that biodiesel cannot be used as fuel after 6 months of storage due to loss of stability. So the physical properties, important physical properties that have been concerned of the biodiesel is the fuel acid value, peroxide value, induction period, flash point, iodine value, density and viscosity. So non-suitable storage condition actually drive the degradation faster. The objective of this study is to study the effect of using different types of storage materials on the physical properties of biodiesel, and to study the effect of biodiesel temperature on the physical properties of the biodiesel in terms of storage. The scope of this study consists of biodiesel that are stored in different types of containers, biodiesel stored which is exposed and not exposed to sunlight, biodiesel stored exposed to artificial light which is fluorescent light, biodiesel without exposure to any light, biodiesel stored in room temperature and ambient temperature, and the only physical properties that been concerned is the density, viscosity, acid value, water content and flash point test. The significance of this study is at the end of the day, I can come up with the most effective ways for storing biodiesel that can sustain the physical properties of the biodiesel longer. Also, it can improvise the storing methods used by the industrial sector without affecting the physical properties of biodiesel for a certain period. The last one is to slow down the degradation of the quality of biodiesel stored. Based on the past research on the literature review, biodiesel consists of a triglyceride and ethyl which produce after catalyzed will produce methyl ester and glycerol. This is one of the example, and the table showed that government plan on the use expanding the use of biodiesel instead of using conventional diesel, and production of biodiesel can be done by a few tests or a few methods which are microemulsion, thermal cracking, acid esterification, trans esterification which can be done by using homogeneous or heterogeneous catalyst, and non-catalytic trans esterification. Comparison of trans esterification reaction which shows that as alkali catalyst trans esterification produce faster and much higher biodiesel. So factors affecting the quality of biodiesel are feedstocks, temperatures, antioxidant and microorganism attack. So this shows some of the physical properties tests that can be done to study the quality of the biodiesel, which are density test, viscosity test, acid value test, water content test, flash point, purity test, iodine value, Rancimat test, and certain number. Bear in mind that this study only consists of the first 5 of the test, which are density, viscosity, acid value, water content, and flash point. For methodology, initially, this research should be done as an experiment, but due to COVID-19, I've changed the methodology of this research from experimental to previous journal studied. But here are some of the examples if the test was to be done experimentally, which are the density test using pygnometer and weighing tools, the viscosity test using the Viscolite 700, and acid value test using a simple titration process, and the flash point test using flash point machine, water content using, followed by this standard to ensure the quality or the physical properties that involved in the test. So my result and from this study in terms of density, past research from Hanif Zakaria studied on the effect of temperature on the quality of biodiesel after the biodiesel has been stored for a certain period of time, which is for low ambient and high temperature. It showed that the density value is higher on the high temperature compared to ambient temperature and low temperature after a certain period of time. Whereas Purabi Mazumdar study also showed the same result, which are the effect of the temperature on the density, which are higher temperature produce higher density value for the biodiesel after a certain period of time. Also, Purabi also studied on the effect of exposure of air and light on the biodiesel that has been stored for a certain period of time, which are samples that has been exposed to air and sunlight has higher density value compared to sample that has been exposed to sunlight only and unexposed to sunlight and air. So in terms of viscosity, some of the studies show that higher temperature storage exposed to light, sunlight or fluorescent light affect the viscosity value of the sample. The same case also happened in the acid value, which the previous study consists of effect of temperature, storage materials, exposure to air and water, exposure to air and sunlight, exposed to sunlight and fluorescent lamp, and exposed to different type of temperature on the sample stored. The findings mostly showed that the higher the temperature will cause the higher the viscosity value. And when comparing in terms of storage materials, glass material showed higher viscosity value compared to plastic. And in terms of exposure to sunlight or any artificial light, it showed that it is better for the biodiesel to be stored without exposure to sunlight, air, and any artificial light. So for the water content of the biodiesel, Ahmed Khalid's research showed that he compared biodiesel stored in glass and plastic and exposed to sunlight or fluorescent light or unexposed to any light. It showed that samples stored in glass has a lower water content compared to plastic materials after a certain period of time. Whereas in terms of exposure to light, it showed that samples that are unexposed to any form of lights have the lowest water content compared to samples stored in under exposure to sunlight or fluorescent light. Also, Hanif Zakaria's research showed that the higher temperature of the storage will cause higher water content in the sample stored. So for the flash point, it's quite the same as any other physical properties, which it show that actually sample stored without exposure to any light and in lower temperature will have a more stable, a lower flash point value. So for the conclusion of this study, I found that the best way to store biodiesel for a certain period of time without affecting the density is to keep it in a low temperature with minimum exposure towards air and light. For in terms of viscosity, it is also best to store in a low temperature with no air exposure and away from sunlight. The same things for acid value, to be kept in a glass container instead of plastic container at a low temperature and away from any source of light, including artificial or sunlight. To preserve the biodiesel physical property in terms of water content, it is advised to store in a glass containers at a low temperature and away from sunlight and exposure to air. And the last point is to stabilize the flash point and avoiding sudden increase or decrease on its value. It is best to keep biodiesel in low temperature and not exposed to air and sunlight. So basically, the findings of my research is the actual best way in terms of every single physical properties of the biodiesel to slow down the degradation rate of the biodiesel is actually to store the biodiesel in a suitable materials storage, which is glass, away from any form of light and without no exposure to air. That is the best way to store biodiesel to slow down the degradation rate. Degradation will occur anyways, but we have to try to slow down the rate of the degradation. So that's all from me. Thank you very much for your time.